1976 was the first time I saw a forest monastery when I visited.
George, closer to your mouth. A bit closer, George.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah, the first monastery I really saw was, I don't think it had a name at the time. It was referred to by the name of the village, which was no, it was the International Monastery. Yeah, that's the name it acquired. And when I went to visit, at that time it had a single well which had just finished digging. It didn't have a roof on the kitchen. It didn't have sides on the sala. And there were the kutis were made of wood and covered with grass. And I was shown around by Ajahn Babakaro. That was his name, and he was so skilled at doing everything, and he showed me around. And what I learned actually that afternoon was something which is a great relief to me, because I learned that when I did acquire a monastery here for them, in England for them, then I wouldn't actually have to do anything except give it to them. So it seemed to me that what it was clear to me was that my duty, my job was to acquire land and buildings and present it to the Sangha. That was my job. And then from there on, to give them advice and look after money, and also give them access to legal advice. So that reduced the amount of commitment that I was clearly going to make enormously. And that was a tremendous relief, because I had a full-time job. So what happened then here, when there was the possibility of being given, the Sangha being given a gift of the forest, and then I might actually be able to acquire a large house. And so all this came about with a remarkable swiftness, actually. It didn't take more than 2 or 3 weeks before I was in a position to actually arrive at the house and meet the owner. And I could quite clearly see that what I was contemplating was dereliction of a house and buildings. I really didn't have to say to him what kind of condition it is in. It was quite obvious what it was in. And so when he said to me, if you want to buy it, you have to take it that it's all derelict, then that was honest. And then I asked him how much he wanted for it. And that was about the same amount of money that I could get by selling the 2 houses in Hampstead. And so all I did was put out my hand and shook his hand and said, sold. So it took about 30 minutes to do. And then what I did was to, I simply went home, actually, and I didn't tell anybody what I'd done. I didn't tell Ajahn Sumedho or the bhikkhus here, and thinking they would think I was mad to have done what I did. But what was to come from this, and to shorten this talk, because I've written a book about it, is that what emerged over the years was that what I'd observed in Thailand at that first time came about because, in fact, no one needs to look after the Sangha. Yes, they need things, they need assistance in various ways, but actually they don't need looking after. The Sangha looks after itself. And as you see, Anybody who's known this monastery for, say, the last 10, 15, 20 years will see how it has developed. And the thing about the development of this monastery, or indeed any of the other monasteries associated with Ajahn Chah, is that it never stops being developed. And this is obvious. There's hardly anywhere you can go on this monastery and see that it has not been attended to. It's absolutely astonishing. And he just keeps on doing that. And there aren't too many bhikkhus here either, you know. And the general rule is no more than 30 people associated with this house. So it's not a big workforce. It's just persistence and discipline. And so that's what marks this Sangha out, is the discipline and the commitment. And I, for one, am hugely grateful to them all. It caused me